First item on the agenda would be to consider approval of the minutes, and I thought the copy was up. Did you receive a copy of the minutes? I thought we posted. I don't see it on mine.
It was in the documents, I noticed.
It was in the documents.
But it wasn't up above.
Above, but it is on the documents below. So, did you have a chance to review the minutes? There it is. It was above, but it is down below. Any questions or comments on the minutes as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Bounds.
I'll second.
Second by Kissling. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Claims are also available for review. Any questions or comments on the claims as presented?
Motion to approve the claims.
Have the motion. Second.
I'll second it.
Second by Ware. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
I do want to make sure that everybody signed that, those two for the,
Right.
I think we got them. Machine Works and okay. I think so.
I didn't see other name on the green.
As long as we got three.
They'll have to do the
Maybe-
green one.
Okay.
I'll show them.
Those have to do with the new water plant, or else the work is being done on the 231.
On the agenda is the utility write-offs for 2020. There's a document there that explaining the totals. I know Tom prepared that document. Tom, you want to review the...
Yeah, where the total is $18,439.93. It's kind of in line with our others of the past years. There's one big one on there which includes a large bad check, which we will continue to go after. But
And again, these are all written up, but there is continued effort to...
yeah, and in that effort,
Yes.
that do tracks the county association program that we're in. Just in the last, or the first 2 weeks of that program for this year, we're getting a little over $8,200. So we have to wait 45 days to get that.
Is that for the Indiana tax side? Is that what
It's a for your Indiana tax returns.
can we go into federal? Can we?
Well, they had mentioned that they're doing that, going to try to do that, but it's not as of yet.
So they're...
So these write-offs would not have taken advantage of the Trex system yet. These are older than what we listed on. Well, some of them were probably on
Some
the
of them are
Trex.
on here. Some of
Yeah.
them are.
The other thing is, I would say 80% of these are because we don't have valid address. So if you recognize anybody on that list and you give them, you got an address for them, let me know.
And that's what helps about this Trex, because they help with the address.
If you got a
It
social-
goes by social security number, so if they're requesting a refund, the Department of Revenue is going to know your address.
And Phil, correct me if I'm wrong on that. On that large one, there's a $500 sewer bill, which the property owner will have to pay, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Now, I have a question on the second one down. That's noted that as a homeowner, from what I can tell by the notes. Will we be able to put a claim on the property?
Well, only for the sewer portion. It had not been sold prior to, and I'm not sure, Phil, if
Yeah, I
that
don't-
one had been sold.
Yeah, I don't know the large one too. I don't know the 505 one you mentioned, Glenn. It's possible that that property may have transferred before the owner was notified of the lien. And if that's the case, that the lien doesn't affect it. We lose our lien.
But since it's a criminal charge with a bad check, we have rights there, right?
Yeah, you can actually recover treble damages, up to 3 times the amount of the damages of the bad check. But again, it's the individuals got to be able to collect from the individual. Getting judgment, the easiest part of collection work is getting judgments. The hardest part is actually collecting it.
Right. I understand. Okay. I make a motion, we do the write-off on the $18,439.93 for the utility bad debt services.
We have a motion by Kissling. Second.
Second the motion.
Second by McFerrin. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Wanted to share with you some information about the National League of Cities Transportation Committee, of which I am a member. I was appointed to that committee by then President of the NLC, Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson, from former mayor of Gary, who was an NLC president, and my role as AIM president, she asked me to serve on the National Transportation Committee. They needed a representative from the state of Indiana. Went to the national conference in November in San Antonio, and the first presentation at our committee meeting, there was a report. You find a copy of it in your board pack. Is a report from the General Accounting Office, the GAO, because there was concerns about, much as we have experienced in Huntingburg, about the length of trains. So I found this report to be very interesting, that it's not, it clearly shows it's not just here. And in this report, I think if you look at the first paragraph, you'll see that their data shows that the average train length has increased by about 25% since 2008. With average lengths of 1.2 to 1.4 miles in 2017. They also say that number is continuing to go up. The line there close to the end of the first paragraph said one railroad says it runs 3-mile-long trains twice weekly.
I don't know who that is.
but so I guess, I don't know if it's misery loves company, but at least we're not an isolated situation. The lady that was presenting this at the National League of Cities was from suburban Chicago, in a small community just to the west of Chicago, and was saying that she was talking about their experience in this community, and I understood exactly what she was talking about, because her experience was much like ours, that this seems more and more frequent, and in fact this document bears it out that yes it is. So from that meeting, you have a document called NLC Resolution number 31, which was passed by our committee and forwarded as part of the platform that the National League of Cities presents to members of Congress. And in general terms, it talks about this GAO report that talks about the increased length of trains, being a question about crossings being blocked for exceeding times, as crews are shrinking. So that's why some of those lengths are longer, because of the number of people working on the trains. There are fewer trains and longer trains. I know this is something that I know Councilman Bounds has discussed in other meetings before. Is also they're looking at the train horn rule. With this, again, the noise levels that are associated with these trains and the frequency and length of trains, they're asking that the Federal Railroad Association adopt new technologies and reasonable exemptions to the train horn rule. So, and what a process might have a clearer process for which cities like Huntingburg could even appeal to have, an amendment to that rule. So the resolution that was passed again asked for a further investigation of those crossings, ways to modernization of the train horn rule, and all other issues that are before. I think this is a kind of a nationwide platform for that, which was very, very interesting. Out of that came two things. One was, if you look at the document called TIS Rail Letter, they asked for a letter to be sent to the Transportation Committee. You can see the names there, and it basically was supporting the resolution that asking for congressional oversight to increase safety over the existing rule, reevaluate the train horn rule, decrease the barriers for communities to establish quiet zones, and ensure safety at safety crossings and link the train. So this was a resolution and a letter that was sent to the Transportation Committee in Congress. They asked for signatures, and there were a total of 62 signatures from communities across the country that signed that document. If you look on page 1, my signature is on that document as well as one of those supporting this action. So that was sent in late mid-December. I guess it was in November as well. Or excuse me, in January. That was sent in January. This letter went to the Congress in January. So what happens? Well, it's Congress. You got to wait for them to take action. But one thing that did happen, there is a link on your page, and I'm hoping to go to that page. One thing that the Federal FRA, Federal Railroad Administration, has done, has launched a website called the Blocked Crossing Incident Reporter. And it's up here on screen, but you have a link to it there if you want to look on your screens as well. But this is tied to my computer, is picking up our location. If you can see, this is Huntingburg, as I called this up. And it shows how to use the form. But if you go to continue to report, if it's not in the right place, you can type a search for the community. You could type Huntingburg in here, and it would bring up this map. So here is all the crossings that are here in Huntingburg. So let's here's the US 231 crossing at Main Street, right around 8th Street. If you would click on that crossing, it gives you an opportunity to file a report, and this is a report from the general public or from a law enforcement agency. So if our police would be in a situation where this is blocking for a period of time, they could file this report, but a citizen who is involved could also file a report. So if you click on the general public report, again, this might be a little hard to read on the screen, but it gives you this form is to report when a train is blocking the highway rail crossing. Please report only once for each crossing, so they don't want you to sit there and submit 12 times while you're waiting. But the first question is, what was the reason the crossing was blocked? And it says a stationary train, a moving train, no train was present, but the lights and gates were on. So there's your 3 choices on why you're making the report. When did you observe the crossing was blocked? So it asks for a time. If you witnessed the train stop and start, how long was the duration? So it asks for that information. For this event, were you aware of any immediate impacts? And the 2 choices are first responders were observed being unable to cross the tracks, or pedestrians were observed climbing on or over through the train cars. Because there's pictures in the report that you might see from the GAO that's, people will climb through the train at these situations. But it also has any additional comments, i.e. it was a school arrival or dismissal was disrupted, postal deliveries were delayed, fewer customers visiting business, traffic congestion, gridlock, etc. So it's kind of a form where you can fill out what impact this crossing this delay might have had. And then once you have it filled out, you click on the green report the blocked crossing. I'm not going to do that right now, but then that would at least go to the FRA to document that these events are happening. Again, what happens from this is yet to be seen, but at least that's one response that we have seen, is that there is at least this reporting mechanism. So I guess my report to you is I think there is increased awareness at not only the local level but the national level of the impact the trains are having on communities as the length continues to grow. The National Transportation Committee from the National League of Cities is lobbying on our behalf for action to help some remedies that could happen, and this website has just been recently launched as a way to at least report incidents of this kind that are, you know, may or may not be more frequent. But again, it doesn't, I think, maybe relieve the frustration of some people who are sitting in traffic at the time. But does anybody know, or does anybody care? At least this is a way to let the federal agency that regulates train travel to say, well, we are reporting it. There's a way for us to document the number of incidents where this is happening. So I know I hope to get Candy the document that has the website on it, and then maybe be part of our report. And again, this is not a solution perhaps, but at least it gives us an opportunity to say, you know, make people aware that this is a problem that is affecting not only our community but communities across the country. So I was very encouraged to hear that the problem still exists, but I'm very encouraged that it's not an isolated Huntingburg problem. This is a problem experienced by communities like ours. It has significant train traffic, and it is raising to the national level. There is a national awareness from the National League of Cities that this is an issue that needs to be addressed and continue to be lobbied. And our committee meets quarterly, usually a phone meeting, and we just had a meeting last week. And this is kind of why today was why I wanted to kind of come back to you, because they let us know last week that this website was now available, and at least part of the process to get some of this information to the federal government on what's happening. So,
Well, we ought to put that website as a favorite on your smartphone. Well, of course, you can't use a handheld device after probably July 1. You have to pull off the road.
but if you're sitting still, but
Maybe we should put a sign up right by the road.
with the website on it. But again, I think that's, you know, again, it's part of the public awareness that you know, our part is, at least there is a method by which we can, you know, report that this is an incident, and again, you can see by all the X's that are there on the map that, you know, it can. If you got a report from every crossing in town that this was an issue, that, you know, everybody who has an opportunity to make that report can do that. Again, I at least gives us an opportunity to have some sort of a response. And again, I know that the committee this was, I think, one of 3 resolutions that the Transportation Committee forwarded to as part of the National League of Cities, but this was the one that had probably the most discussion in our committee meeting because it is so widespread.
I'm not sure our current count per year, but I remember several years ago I did a study and we had 27 trains a day come through Huntingburg.
That's about the average.
So
More than 1 an hour.
I shared this when I was setting up for the presentation. I got some help from Rob Bendel to set this up, and you know where Rob's office is. He said, "Okay, tell me the website," because his office, he says, "I know when they're there." So,
and I also noted the last few weeks I've noticed used to you had the engine in the back and the front, but now they've got a lot of trains with engine in the middle, and that's
Yes.
due to the fact that they're 3 miles long.
Yes.
They can't
Absolutely.
push that train with
Yeah.
just 2 engines or 3 engines in the front.
right,
So I mean the trains are definitely longer.
right. So. I just wanted to, you know, I know that was a point of discussion many times in our council meetings, and you get questions about it from our citizens of what can we do. Well,
We're very fortunate we have the
The overpass is pretty nice.
the overpass is kind of given us an option, at least in many cases. I know that like there was an incident earlier this week where there was at least an hour that the train was present, and while it was, you know, those who were aware of the overpass were able to at least continue making that trip. So that's all I had to report to you. Any questions or comments? Or I think again I'll share with Candy the site itself, and hopefully we can at least be diligent in our reporting of our incidents in towns, and hopefully that will get us some response. So again, and again, the National League of Cities, the fact that this site is up is I think is a sign that they're at least aware that this is an issue, so we might be in the data gathering stage to say, what is the extent of the problem? So this may help us in doing that. So, any questions on that?
Good to know, thank you.
Mr. Snyder, you have anything?
I have
to say?
nothing.
Mr. Dipple, anything tonight?
Nope.
I don't think there's anything from the
I
floor.
don't see anything about it.
Well, we have a motion by Ware to adjourn, seconded by Kisling. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.